Hi, everyone. Welcome to Explorer Classroom. My name is Lindsay Anderson, and I'm here at National Geographic headquarters in Washington, D.C. And we are so thrilled to welcome you to this session with Explorer Shah Selbe. He's a conservation technologist, and he's currently working in, Shah, you're probably going to have to correct me on this, Odzala-Kokoua National Park in the Republic of Congo. Did I say it right?
You did, yeah.
Yeah, nailed it. This park contains pristine rainforest, which is home to animals like forest elephants and lowland gorillas. And Shah's there in the field using technology like drones and sensors to help map the rainforest and also track the animals. And I should tell you that today we're using some cool technology to even facilitate this connection. Shah is using a satellite unit called a BGAN that he brought with him to the rainforest that's allowing him to video chat with all of us today. So before I turn it over to Shah, I want to remind anyone who's streaming live that you can ask us questions in the YouTube side chat bar, or you can use the hashtag Explore Classroom on Twitter, and we'll get back to you. So Shah, take it away. Tell us, how's it going? What are you doing out there? Where are you?
Yeah, sure. So thanks. Hey, everyone. My name's Shah, and as you heard earlier, I'm an explorer with National Geographic, and what we're doing is there's me and another individual who are here on a trip to explore and investigate a big project that we want to do in Odzala National Park. So Odzala National Park is in the Republic of Congo, which is in kind of the middle part of Africa. If you look at a map, what's called the Congo Basin. It's next to countries like Gabon and the Democratic Republic of Congo. But we're here in this really special place, mostly because of one type of animal, and that's the Western lowland gorilla. We're trying to do some work to help the researchers out here that are focused on the gorilla. And so you can actually see that's the rainforest behind me. It's actually a really amazing, pristine rainforest. We spent the entire morning this morning from, we woke up at 6 in the morning and we finally got back at 11 in the morning, and we were with a tracker and we were going through the jungle, and we found a family of gorillas and spent some time with the gorillas. So, but what we're here doing is two things. We want to work with the researchers here to help them with their studies of the gorilla. And the key part of how they study gorillas is using, sorry, put down. Are you guys, can you hear me still?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so one of the key ways that they study gorillas is they use these things, which this is a camera trap. Because the reason why they use this is because they can put this on the bottom of a tree, and it has a sensor on it that can see if there's any movement that ends up happening, and it ends up taking a video, and they can actually see the behavior of the gorilla in situations where people aren't around to influence how the gorilla is going to act and change that study. The other tool that we're using, which I dropped, is this. So this right here is one of the two different types of drones that we have. So it may not look like a drone because it's all folded up, but if you were to fold this out, give me a second, I only have one hand. If you fold it out, it looks a lot more like what you think about when you think of a drone. And so what we do with these drones is we fly them over these parts of the forest that we know that the gorillas are spending some time eating some of the plants and roots of the plants there. And so we'll fly them over in a very special way. We'll fly them like a grid. And the reason why we want to do that is because as we're flying, we're taking all these pictures, and then we put all the pictures together, and we can make a 3D model of what it looks like, what this habitat ends up looking like. And that can help us do a couple of things. It can help us tell how far away the habitat is and if there's any major obstacles in the way. But the other thing it can help us do is to identify new places that the gorillas would like to go. So new feeding sites and other things that could potentially be an important place for for the gorillas, and that would end up being a really good thing for the researchers out here as they're expanding their study and learning more things. So we're actually staying in the research camp here. So you can see that is what our cabin looks like. There's a lot of bugs in it, but it's actually pretty nice. It's nicer than a lot of the places that I've had to stay on while I'm on expedition. And there's one other person who's here with me, who's from the Zoological Society of London, who may come and say hello at some point during this hangout. So tomorrow is our last day here. We leave at 4 in the morning, and it takes when we were driving out here, it took us 16 hours in a car to get to this location. So we're going to do the same thing tomorrow. But we've been here for a week doing a lot of this work and trying to understand better the things that are happening here so that we can come back later this year and do a bigger project. You know, deploy more camera traps, do a lot more drone mapping, and you know, figure out what else we need to do to help these researchers out here.
So cool, Shah. So you said 16 hours. Is that because it's so remote and the Congo is so big, or because of roads and accessibility, or maybe both?
Yeah, it's a little combination of both. It's a pretty long drive, but for certain parts of it, you have to like drive very slowly because they're dirt roads and there's lots of potholes. There's actually one part of it where we had to drive up onto a barge, and then the barge was stuck to a cable, and they very slowly moved the barge across the river so that we can get across, and then we drove on the other side. But yeah, it takes quite a bit of time. We also were stuck at a police road stop for 3.5 hours because of some misunderstanding, but everything was fine. So
okay, so that takes some time. Okay, that's so incredible. Thanks for sharing what you're working on. I'm going to go through and read through the classrooms. Guys, remember to turn your mics on. We'll start with Mrs. Foster's class. Turn your mic on and you can ask Shah. Let's start with questions from every class.
Yes. Have you ever lost a drone? And if so, how would you recover?
So yeah, I have lost a drone. I brought 2 drones. So I showed you guys the second drone. The first drone I crashed twice while I was here. The first time it was starting to take off and it couldn't find GPS, and a wind caught it and it kind of went around and I ended up crashing it into a tree. Then the second time it happened again, but it happened when we were doing some mapping out here, and I broke the same propellers both times, and so I couldn't use anymore. So I had to use this other one. But I crash drones all the time. Yeah, it's part of the job. Before we take the next question, I just want to introduce Sam. So I'll let Sam introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Sam. I work for the Zoological Society of London, and you'll probably tell I'm English. I just literally got back from testing some radios in the rainforest, so I'm a bit sweaty. I keep finding ants all over me, but yeah, anyway.
And you're the camera trap expert, right?
Yeah, I do a lot of work with camera traps. So with the Zoological Society of London, that's sort of my area, and radios as well, and connecting camera traps with radios.
So cool.
Great.
Shah, I'm getting some feedback that you're a little hard to hear. So can you, I don't know, use your outdoor voice.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Next, we'll go to Mr. LeBeau's class. They are 3rd graders in Florida. You guys have some questions?
Not Jason, though, guys.
Yeah, go ahead, stand up. There you go. Ask your question.
Are lowland gorillas endangered?
Are lowland gorillas endangered?
You know, Ethan. You know that. I want to ask him
So
if he's ever male silverback.
Doesn't have his mic muted.
Oh, maybe she can. Yeah.
So I can answer both those questions. If gorillas are endangered, and then if we saw silverbacks. So so western lowland gorillas are actually doing better than mountain gorillas are, but they're still a species that we're monitoring very closely to make sure that, you know, they're not impacted by human impact. One big thing that we have to pay attention to a lot with gorillas. So when we see the gorillas, we have to put on face masks like you're in surgery. And the reason why is because gorillas can get the same sicknesses that we have. So if you've heard of Ebola, like the Ebola crisis that was killing a lot of people in this area, the Ebola crisis also killed thousands of gorillas in the area. And then the second thing I will say is we've seen two groups of gorillas here, and both of them have a silverback who's there with them. It's quite an impressive one. Today we saw a silverback actually climb up a tree. So the special thing about lowland gorillas as opposed to mountain gorillas is they climb trees, and you see these trees behind us. They can go like all the way up to the top of it. So it's really, really impressive to see that sort of thing.
Oh, okay. What's making them be endangered?
Why are they endangered?
So there's multiple reasons why. It's a lot of it tends to be so they're poached, they're killed. A lot of times they're killed too because of not necessarily like to eat or anything, but they're killed because of like political conflict. So in some countries near here, you see a lot of that sort of stuff. They suffer from the same stuff that a lot of animals in the rainforest suffer. As we cut down more of the rainforest, they have less habitat, and they're pushed into these situations where they're closer to people and closer to other groups of gorillas, and it becomes
they're very much like humans. They're very much like us. It takes a long time for them to grow up into an adult and to be as capable as an adult is. So, we're talking about quite small numbers, quite small groups of them left in the wild. If they do get killed by Ebola and if their habitat is shrunk, they can't just renumber very quickly. It takes a long time for them to repopulate.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information.
Thanks, guys. Great questions. Okay, we're going to go next to Mr. Tyndall. Ryan, your mic is still muted. Can you unmute for us?
Hi.
Great.
I was curious. I didn't think that gorillas were able to climb trees. I thought they were too heavy. So, are there particular types of trees they can climb, or can they pretty much get up anything without branches?
Yeah, I mean, we saw them climb up. We saw like the silverback actually climb up a pretty small tree with no branches, so they can just pull themselves up.
Wow.
They don't, the mountain gorillas. So when a lot of people think about gorillas, they think about the mountain gorillas because they're slightly bigger and they're easier to visit. So mountain gorillas don't climb trees. But the lowlands do, and it's quite an impressive thing.
I didn't know that. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Last but not least, we're going to go to Miss Green's class. I see you guys ready and waiting with some questions. Can you unmute your mic?
Can you see us?
We can.
Okay. Okay, ask your question.
How do you know if the drones are flying?
How do I know if the drones are flying?
Yes.
So I have the controller, the remote controller for the drone. I can plug into my iPad, which is what we're using here, and I could see what the drone is seeing, and then I could also see where it is on a map. So I'll tell it to fly like a certain square on a map, and then it will just follow this little grid, and I could see this red triangle, and that red triangle is the drone as it's flying around.
Girls. Okay. Thank you, girls. Come here. All right. Come on.
How big is the rainforest?
They wanted to know how big is the rainforest.
It's very big.
Yeah.
How big is the rainforest?
I wish I knew the statistics or the actual facts, but I don't.
I'd love to be able to say it's the size of like Texas or something, but
yeah,
probably is.
Yeah, probably something like that. But it's, I don't know if you can tell, but like the trees are quite tall. Like these trees up there, they're pretty insane how tall they are out here. And the other thing about this rainforest that's really interesting is it's very thick. So there will be areas like this. You see these, and it's just a wall of plants, as far as you can see. So it's very hard. When we're going to like look for the gorillas with the trackers. The trackers are very familiar with seeing different signs of the gorillas, and they just have to cut their way through. Otherwise, we'd never be able to get through.
Okay. All right. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then ask your question.
How tall are the gorillas?
Oh, sorry. You want to know how tall the gorillas were?
How tall are the gorillas?
I'd say they're that tall.
Yeah.
I mean, the silverback, when he's walking on his feet, is like this tall.
Yeah.
And then when he stands up, he's like, I don't know, 1.5 meters. Like,
Yeah.
you guys do have 1.5 meters in America?
Yeah, but
Or feet?
more feet.
5
yeah.
feet.
Yeah,
6
maybe
feet.
maybe 5 or 6 feet tall.
But he's about 5 feet wide as well. He's very powerful.
Yeah, and the big muscle. When you look at it, when you see them, it looks like they could just break whatever they want. They're actually very gentle. We were so close to them this morning, and they just look at you and they walk you and they don't care.
Okay, one of my students wanted to know how many gorillas there are where you're at.
There's a lot.
60.
So in the general area, right around this research camp, there's 60.
Well, there's 60 that are studied and are habituated to humans.
Yeah.
So the researchers can get close to them, and the gorillas aren't going to be worried.
Yeah.
And then there's another whole.
So
I think there's a whole 500 in other groups around the area.
Just around this area. In the park itself, I think there's a couple thousand. There used to be a lot more, but Ebola killed a lot of them. So.
Yes.
So yeah, so they're not doing. They're still doing okay here, which is good. But in some of the neighboring countries, they're not doing so well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I know that we have some more questions, but we're gonna cycle back through the other classrooms, and then if we have time, we'll come back to you. Okay? I'm gonna go ahead and mute you, and we're gonna go back to Miss Foster's classroom. You guys have some questions?
Yes, we do.
Great.
Go ahead.
So, how much of the rainforest have you discovered? And if so, do you name the areas that you've discovered?
So the researchers that are here, they have like names for the different research sites that they work at. So there's places where they know that the gorilla is eating something special, so like some certain type of root or something, and so they'll name that by numbers. The groups here are actually named by Roman names. So the silverback in one group, his name is Jupiter, and the other one is Neptune. But the park itself has names for certain regions, but we don't necessarily name it ourselves when we're out here.
I mean, the exploring that we're doing is that at the moment the only views of this park are from Google Earth, and that's taken from satellites, and it's not very good quality. And so what Shah is able to do with his drone is suddenly discover all these trees that you can't actually see what they look like. And now you can actually see the heights and the open areas and all this sort of awesome stuff. So maybe there will be some trees named after us. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Yeah. The imagery that we're collecting with the drone is a lot more accurate. If you use like Google Maps or Google Earth and you're looking at satellite imagery, then the way they define it is each pixel is 30 meters, which is like a really long area, But when we do it with the drones, each of those pixels is 3 centimeters or less. So it's like very, very detailed. So when we look at these maps, we could see leaves on the trees, we can see fruit, we can see animals, we can see our car. You can see all sorts of stuff while you're out here.
Do you guys name your gorillas that you found?
So the researchers that are working here, they name certain ones if they've been studying them for a long time, and it's just easier for them to refer to that gorilla. They don't necessarily name them because they're like, pretending that that's their buddy or anything like that. They want to be able to say, Neptune, that silverback had this behavior and was doing this thing, and it was interesting. So that's why they name them, because it's a lot. Once if there's 500 gorillas just right around this camp, then it becomes hard to know who you're talking about without having some sort of a name attached to it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, we're gonna migrate to Who's left? Mr. LeVogue's class. You guys have some more questions?
Yes, we do. Owen, do you want to ask your question? Stand up, Owen, so they can see you on the camera. Good job, buddy.
Have you come across any dangerous animals in the rainforest?
Could you hear that, Shah?
No, we did. We haven't come across any dangerous animals. There's leopards here, but we haven't seen any.
There's snakes.
Yeah, there's snakes. Oh, yeah, we did see one snake. One snake just fell out of the tree onto the walkway where we were at, and it turns out that it was a very venomous vine snake that people have died from it before. So I took some pictures of it, but then we let it go off on its way.
But there are some insects here which are very annoying and make working here very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And they're called sweat. And you walk out into the rainforest and you are very happy and you're enjoying yourself. And suddenly these little flies come and they just cover you.
Yeah.
And we're talking thousands of them all over your face, just trying to get into your eyes and your ears and your nose. And it's really unpleasant.
Yeah, you're just surrounded by a swarm of these things that are they're trying to get inside of your eyes. It's just not a fun thing to do.
Okay, we have one more question? Do we have one more question? Do we? Go ahead. Who's got one more question? Come up, JJ. Stand in front of the camera. Whoops, watch your toes. Over here, so they can see it. There you go. Bend a little, and then ask your question, JJ.
When have you started doing this?
Okay, yeah. How long has Shah been doing that? Well,
Okay,
working for National Geographic.
Yeah, so I've been doing this conservation technology work in one way or another for 10 or 11 years now. I became an explorer with National Geographic in 2013, and then in 2016 I became a fellow there. But I also have my own nonprofit where we do a lot of these projects and work with a lot of these groups. Sam, how long have you been doing it?
So I've been doing this now for 1.5 years, and before this I was in the British Army, where I was doing a sort of reconnaissance role. And then before that, I was studying animals at university. So for me, it's been a bit of a different route, zoology, army, and then conservation technology.
Yeah.
But I think it was a good one.
Yeah.
Our last question is, the kids are asking me off camera here, how we can help. What can we do from here to help you?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think so from a conservation standpoint, the best way to help would be to learn more about these animals and the kind of threats that they face. There's a lot that people in the US and in the UK and other places can kind of do by helping these organizations do their jobs better, or pick certain products that don't have things that can harm some of these ecosystems. So there's things like palm oil that are in a lot of products that they actually cut down rainforests to be able to plant these plants. And if you eat, products that don't have those sorts of things in it, then you can actually do a big impact in terms of helping these things out.
Yeah, and I just say, just stay passionate about wildlife and animals. Okay, the more passion you put in, the less, you've got to stay positive that you can make a real change with these things. Don't get negative and think, oh, it's too late for that. You can bring animals back from extinction. The Zoological Society of London recently released 21 Arabian oryxes in the desert, and they had been extinct in the wild since 87, I think. So, and now they're flourishing again. So don't get negative about these things. Stay really positive.
Yeah, and if any of you guys want to become conservationists or something in the future and help us out and do the same type of work that we do, be able to travel to these really amazing places and work with animals like gorillas, then, just when you're in school, pay attention when you're learning science, pay attention when you're learning biology. All of these things matter. And then for the work that I do, engineering, so math, physics, things like that, then you can come and do some really amazing work with those skills that you learned.
Wow. Can I ask one more?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure.
Go ahead, kids. They've got so many great questions. Go ahead. Go ahead, ask your question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that's it? You just want to say?
Yeah.
All right, they just want to say thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, well then
Oh,
let's
thank
go
you.
back for a last question from Miss Green's class. Can you guys unmute your mic?
Okay. Yeah, Michaela. Yes. Can you see us and hear us? Okay. Ask your question.
Sorry. How do you find the gorillas?
How do we find them? That's a really good question. So the researchers here have these people that the local from the village near that have been trained as trackers. And so what a tracker does is they can understand the signs of where a gorilla's been. They could see if a gorilla's eaten a certain type of plant and broken it off and laid it on the ground. So when we were walking with the tracker this morning, he would pick up these leaves and he would show us like, this is a gorilla ate this, you know. He can also tell when they're walking. He showed us some of the knuckle prints, you know. So as a gorilla is walking and it's walking on its knuckles in the mud, it will push down, and he showed us some of those. And they become very good at telling where a gorilla goes. And so they have a group of trackers that actually follows the different groups that they study. And they follow the gorillas all the way until the gorillas make a nest for the night. So I don't know if you guys have heard of this before, but when a gorilla goes to bed, it actually makes a nest, and it makes a new nest every single day. And it does that by pulling down a bunch of plants and making a big fluffy bed and then laying in that bed to go to bed. So once the gorillas make a nest, then the trackers leave and they come back to camp, and they do that every single day. And that's how they know where the gorillas are moving over time.
And then when we get closer to the gorillas, the trackers and you can smell them, and then you start hearing them, and you can hear branches breaking and little branches waving in the distance.
Yeah.
And then you slowly move forwards and forwards and forwards until suddenly one of them might appear onto the track, or where you just.
Oh. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was our last question.
Okay, great. In that case, I'll have everyone turn their mics back on so you can all say thank you. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. I'm sure it is hot there, and we know you're really busy and doing really important work. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so from all of us at Nat Geo, thanks for hanging out with us, and thank you to all of the classrooms for your amazing questions. Remember that you can always check back to natgeoed.org/explore-classroom to see what's coming up next. And that's it for today. So signing off. Bye. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much.
Can I?
Bye, guys. Thank you.